Hi, everyone. Welcome to our regular Thursday live. We are so sorry for the late delay, technical issues. Obviously, the energy is pretty high. We are so excited to have Edie Summer with us today. She is an author, a yoga health fitness instructor. She's also a wellness consultant. She's been helping people for over 20 years, teaching them how to take care of themselves and obtain a lifestyle of healthy living. And we would like to welcome Edie Summer. Hi, Edie.
Hi, Judy. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks to Portia and everyone else. I haven't met everyone else here, but I did see some of you on video. It's really nice to be here.
Yeah, so if you haven't met the group, we have Scott, our massage therapist there. He's an amazing artist, but he's also an amazing healer himself. And then we have John, clairvoyant. You probably met him in Oregon.
Okay.
And then we have Vivian. She's stay-at-home mom at this time, but she has a degree in medical. And then Jung, our tech and our software engineer, the guy behind the scenes of all of this work.
Nice to meet everyone.
That's our team.
Hi.
Awesome. Hi. Nice to meet everybody.
So,
Nice to meet you too.
So, Edie, can you share with us how did you, or what inspired you to write the book?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Actually, a friend. I mean, I've always been a writer, and then I developed health issues in my early 20s after a ski accident. But in my 30s, a good friend of mine who I met at school, we were both English majors, and she was also into health. She said, "I don't know why you don't write a book." And then I guess I couldn't get that out of my head. So to be honest, that's where it started, was her mentioning that. I never really thought I would write a book, or it never really occurred to me before. So that's where it started. And then it took me 10 years to write it after I decided to write. Yeah, I'm very slow sometimes.
Quite. So, when you mentioned health issue, was that the ski injury health issue, or was it there's something more to it?
Yes, it was. So I developed chronic fatigue after a ski accident when I was about 22, and then I had surgery. And then I was in physical therapy for about 8 months, and I was on a bunch of prescription painkillers and anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen and naproxen, and I was just exhausted. So I went from someone who had tons of energy, and I was a dance major, and all of a sudden my body just was different. It was fundamentally different. And I was later diagnosed with CFS. We're getting a lot closer to understanding what it is. One of the main theories out there now that I think might be really close to sort of illuminating us to what CFS is called the cell danger response, kind of where your immune system sort of over responds to toxins and any type of toxin or stressor. Your immune system just sort of over responds, and then that's where the symptoms come from. But of course we don't know for sure, but that's what happens. So it's a long story, but a lot of people have it actually, or something similar to it.
So, Edie, can you kind of give the listener what the acronym for the CFS is?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So it's called chronic fatigue syndrome, and and CFS is short for that. And they've tried other names out, like a recent name was SEID, which is systemic exertion intolerance disorder. I think they officially changed the name to that, but I don't think that really stuck. So CFS is the most common name. Also, you might hear ME, if you're in the UK or, and I'm terrible at saying that name. I think it's myalgic encephalomyelitis or something. I'm not very good at saying the other name, but CFS is short for chronic fatigue syndrome. It's a syndrome because they don't know what causes it yet. So, yeah.
So do you currently living without that condition, or are you still
I do. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, in general, I do pretty well. I function at about, I would say, 90 to 100%. So some days I have no symptoms. I'm really proactive, and that's not to, so it's really, some people are in bed with it. There's a wide spectrum of how people feel with it. Some people are really high functioning. I consider myself having positive recovery, but I have to stay on top of it. And if I don't practice a lot of self-care and manage stress and eat well and get enough sleep, then my symptoms can crop up. But in general, I would say I've learned what works for my body, and I function at a very high level. So some days I don't feel like I even have it, and other days it's like super, super mild. So yeah, it's a hard question to answer because I guess it's like a new normal.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
A new normal. So you sound like you have to change your lifestyle and everything just to adjust to.
Exactly. Yeah, you do. And it's true for a lot of people. I mean, actually, 1 out of every 2 people in the United States has at least one chronic condition. And most people are going to face some type of health challenge in their lifetime. So, lifestyle medicine is that's something that's definitely, it's really big these days, and it's sort of everything that you can do through nutrition and mindset, sleep habits, managing stress. That these are all things that are within all of our reach, and they have a huge impact on health and wellness in general. But also, if you are facing a chronic condition, most chronic conditions respond the best, I believe, to lifestyle medicine. So changes that you yourself can make, and I definitely had to make some changes, but I'm grateful for it. It made me, I feel overall like my well-being is better and my health is better overall, just because I had to kind of wake up and pay more attention to my body and what my body needed. So yeah.
So like, what shifted you at that time? Because I know like a lot of people, they wait until all the way until where it really impacts their life, then they have to make a decision, and then that's
Right.
even very difficult, and sometimes it's like life threatening.
Yes.
How did you like shift from having a normal life and then taking that step to changing your lifestyle and just flipping everything upside down for you, but in a good way, I guess?
It is in a good way, and that's a really great question. And I think honestly, for me, it was just a desire to feel better. Like it's actually, I think, a really strong desire, and a lot of people I meet, either with CFS or other chronic conditions, have a really, really strong desire to feel better. And I think you have to set the intention to feel better. That's, I think, the best thing that was I couldn't accept, and it's not to say that my journey might be different than someone else's, but in my mind I just set the intention to recover my health as much as possible. And of course I didn't know what that was going to look like, but I just had a really strong desire to feel better. So, and in the process of that affects choices that you make. I believe intention is really powerful. So, and it's true. Yeah. Sometimes you have to have a really strong wake up call. I mean, I have to say that, before my ski accident, before I developed health issues, I really didn't know a lot about living a healthy lifestyle. I didn't, I think I was just sort of lucky that I was naturally had a lot of energy and was naturally healthy, but it actually took a crisis for me even to learn about what is, maybe what are some better choices. So, and I think for a lot of people, you reach a crisis point, whether or not you're aware of it. But yeah. So I think, but again, it's a really strong desire to want to feel better. That's a great question. Who was it that asked that question?
That was me. I'm young, by the way.
I think I remember seeing you doing the tech.
Yeah, the tech guy, I guess. Yeah, so like, like you say that you have the chronic issue, and then I'm just wondering, like, how did you find out, is it through like just reading about, other people's work, or is it kind of something that you work on to kind of develop the intention, or is it kind of you stumble upon it and then you discover something with an intention that brought benefit to your health? How did you discover that part or reach there?
Like discovering the drive to feel better, is that what you mean? Or just figuring out like that intention works really well, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like that intention, like your thought, your intention.
Again, that's another great question. Actually, I think I've always been that way. Actually, I've always been kind of a driven person, and I have to say that the experience of developing health issues in my early 20s, again, I was a dance major, and then I was an English major. I was nowhere near studying health or thinking about it. And then after I developed health issues, I tried for 6 months to get a job in the natural foods industry because I was looking for answers. So, and there's another point to this too, so I've always been kind of driven, I guess, that way. So I kind of had that natural drive to kind of figure out the answers. And I meet a lot of people that have that same drive. And then I also noticed a pattern when I finally got into the store and I started working in the supplements department. A lot of people who were really sick, like with cancer, and people who were going through like divorce or like serious stress and couldn't sleep. And I met all sorts of people that had like really serious issues going on, and they all had the same thing in common, which was that drive to feel better. And I realized that there was a pattern there, that I think that people that find answers or do better in terms of recovering health, and it doesn't necessarily mean you'll recover your health all the way, but you could feel a lot better at least. They all have that in common, where you have to either harness that drive or get inspired or motivated, or you already have it internally. But and a lot of people find, and I'm a huge proponent of integrative medicine. I love alternative because that's the first thing that helped me. Mm-hmm. And I personally can't take prescription drugs, so I was already sort of struggling with kind of the side effects of prescription drugs. But a lot of people who are looking for answers, they're not finding the answers that they need in mainstream medicine. And I'm not knocking mainstream medicine at all. But a lot of people you have to become proactive in the process of seeking answers. If that makes sense. Like, it's sort of, I don't know, a lot of chronic conditions. I don't think modern medicine is really good at sort of acute situations, as far as I understand it. But for chronic conditions, it turns out that it's the choices that you make every day that make the biggest difference. So people either have the natural drive, or they become very motivated once they start getting frustrated and they sort of realize that maybe they're not getting the help or answers that they need. And a lot of times it's an integrated approach. I love doctors who, or healthcare practitioners who seek out more information maybe than their training, and then they offer that to their patients. And it's complicated, but across the board, I've noticed with people that do the best in terms of doing better with their health, whatever their challenges are, they're going above and beyond to try and find answers. And you
Wow.
kind of do whatever it takes.
Yeah, it sounds like it takes a person to be like optimistic and just
very much,
as
very
well
important.
as a seeker.
Not
having to settle to like certain medication that you get a 50-50 chance of whether it works or not, or just all it does is just it alleviates the pain or alleviates the symptom, but not really fixes the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
so it sounds like what
Yeah,
you're saying is
yeah, and
it's like that.
yeah, and I think, well, there are. I mean, so there are some. I mean, and I've done a lot of research, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't claim to be one. And Dr. Judy, aren't you a doctor, or what kind of doctor are you?
I am a chiropractor by trade.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so you're kind of like an integrative doctor, right? Like you go through traditional training, but then I mean
Yeah,
I don't know. I speak for
we're yeah, chiropractor have the same training as medical doctor, except that when they go into internship, they spend more time in toxicology and surgery, where
Mhm.
we spend more time in anatomy and neurology. So,
Oh, got
with
it.
what you were saying, I see a lot of patients in the situation, what you were saying, that, in order for an individual who lives with chronic pain, they have to take
Mhm.
uh, control of their health and well-being. They have to be the one to
Right.
initiate and say, okay, this is what I want.
Yes.
And what I see with
Yes.
patients that come in and say, okay, how can I improve my health and well-being? It's a partnership between
Hmm.
the provider and the patient. So
Oh, I love that.
the provider, people like myself, we are more practicing of a holistic approach, meaning we want to guide patients to like the healthy lifestyle that you were saying, and it has to come
Hmm.
from the patients who wants to do it.
Yes.
When they
Yes.
decide to say, okay, show me, what do I need to do, guide me. And the first thing we want to show them and help them is to be in tune with your body, listen to your body.
Yes.
when
Exactly.
when you become
Yes.
aware of your body, the best doctor is you, right?
Yes.
Because when you go to
Yes.
the doctor, you are the one that is describing the symptoms of how things
Hmm.
is what's going on with your body. And all we do is, from the training, we listen
Hmm.
to your information, and then we put it together, and that's how we, through the history, through the analysis of our findings, through whether lab work or whatnot, that's when we come to a diagnosis. But the
Hmm.
actual doctor is actually the person themselves, when they become in tune with their body, when they start listening and receiving the messages. Let's say, for example, if you have a headache, the easiest way is to pop the pain relief, right?
Right.
But the
Hmm.
hardest way is to ask, okay, why do I have that headache? Is it because I'm dehydrated? Is it because I'm not getting enough sleep? Is it because I am hungry? Is it because I'm under stress? So it takes more
Yes.
time to really ask our body, right? But like you were
Absolutely.
saying earlier, that in your situation, you do have side effects from taking the medication.
I
But
did.
now
I did
what I
personally. Yes.
but now what I see also is that patients are beginning to see that the quick fix modality is not working, and they are
Hmm.
seeking alternative.
Hmm.
And the first
Yeah.
thing is, listen to your body. It communicates with us every single moment.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. That is, it's, and it sounds like like it's such a simple concept, but it's really, really profound, right? Because your body has like feedback loops in it. And I really found that, having chronic fatigue forced me to slow down. And then
Mhm.
I started noticing things that I didn't notice before. My awareness was heightened,
Mhm.
including listening to what my body was trying to tell me. I believe that symptoms are like signals. Your body's trying to send you signals. Like,
Well,
you
yes,
know, yeah,
it is a
yeah,
signal. And that's why, in chiropractic profession, our philosophy is the power that made you can heal you if
mm-hmm,
you can assist the body to remove the blockages or the restrictions. So, like,
mm-hmm,
for example, if because the nervous system, and this is so unique, the way that God designed the human body, scientists still
mm-hmm,
trying to learn all the uniqueness within the body, but Your nervous system control every function of your body, from the external environment to the internal environment. So it is very important that people have a chiropractor to be part of their healthcare provider, because that's where you can become aware and in tune with your body. Because we were learned to be, if you have this, take this. If you have this, take this, instead of tuning into the body and says, wait, why am I experiencing that? What is the cause? And that's where we come in. We are a coach, really, a health coach, because a doctor is basically the term is coaching, right? You're teaching.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And an ally. And absolutely. Yes. I'm so grateful for all the practitioners I've met. And you really have to, training is amazing. And and health, the body can be very complicated, right? Like like you were saying, the nervous system alone it seems so complex. And I'm so grateful because I try to piece, I think as a patient, you have to have that. You have to be super proactive, and you're starting to piece together puzzles. But of course, we don't have the training, so training is invaluable. And I met an integrative doctor. He was an MD. He was an ND, and he was also a Chinese medicine doctor. And he had so much training, and he was such a good. He was so good at diagnosis because all he did was listen to me for 2 hours. Like, man, it was incredible. Mm-hmm. I just kept talking, and finally, he looked up and he said, "I think I know what's going on." And now he told me that he thought I maybe had like a liver disorder because I wasn't processing prescription drugs well and anti-inflammatories. But that was a huge light bulb moment for me because I had suspected that, but it was so reassuring to have someone with training say, like kind of helping me piece together the puzzles. So anyway, I'm very grateful for practitioners like you that, it's a big thing to get all of that training, and there's so much to learn. I mean, I have a friend who's a nurse practitioner, and, she said that she's, it's everything is so specialized these days. There's so much to know, but be a proactive patient.
Yes, and that's the thing now as we are moving into the new era, is that lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, plays a big role because it's all by choice, right? We look at if we are living with chronic condition, do we want to continue living that lifestyle because we know the outcome of it if we continue? Or do we want to shift the way we are living in order for us to live a better quality of life? And so, science have shown now that every part of our body can regenerate. So if that is the case, it takes about 7 years to have a new body. So if we start investing into our body, the right type of nutrient that our body needs, you can overcome conditions that, before science says, when your brain was damaged, it cannot be regenerated. But now they proved that it could. So through therapy, through nutrition, through healthy lifestyle, you can regain, whether it's a muscle loss, whether it's a brain, whether, our body is miraculous.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Our bodies are very resilient. And, and also back to what your colleague was asking me, I forget, is your name June? I forgot your name.
It's Yoon.
Yeah, June. Yoon. I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
It's okay.
I think that something that a lot of people struggle with who have chronic conditions, there can be a lot of shame around it because everyone wants to be like a healthy, functioning member of society. And something that I really learned and touched upon in the course of, doing everything I could to get better was like this sense of feeling like you're worth it, like your health and your life is worth fighting for. Because what I've noticed is that sometimes where people get stuck in terms of, quote unquote, living a healthy lifestyle is, it's, you do have to make some difficult choices sometimes. You're making them for the benefit of your health, but, sometimes we don't want to eat less sugar. Sometimes we don't want to take the time to learn how to cook, or we don't want to go to bed earlier, or we don't want to cut out caffeine or alcohol, some of the harder choices. And people that have chronic conditions, they have a choice to make, and you can either do it because you have that natural drive and like kind of fortitude, or another reason that you can get in touch with is kind of realizing that the value of your life. This is something I sort of realized over time, is that you definitely have to fight for your well-being. And those can involve hard choices, but it's so worth it, because I sort of discovered that even though I was quote unquote healthy before, maybe, I didn't really experience a higher quality of well-being as I do now, since I don't know if that makes sense, but I've noticed that sometimes people get stuck because they don't value themselves enough, and they don't really think that they want to make those hard choices that will make a difference. And unless you're sort of between a rock and a hard place, again, sort of if you sort of reach a crisis point.
And I see that a lot too, Edie, is that the lack of information. If you start early, if you are lucky enough to encounter those who have the opportunity to do alternative healthcare, they see differences and then they will share. But those who are never been exposed to alternative healthcare are relying on their provider to share the information.
Right.
And if that is not being conveyed, it's harder for the individual to receive a choice, right? You can't really make a decision based on the information that you are given, because there's only one avenue of choices, right?
That's a great point. What a great point. Yeah, so sometimes it's about just exposure to new ideas. And again, it just reminds me of working in the health food store, and, people were just, it was almost like the last resort. Like, they would wander in there and I'd see them just sort of, I think they were, obviously sometimes they were looking for a quote unquote supplement, but I think they were just really looking for like connection and like new ideas, and like, they just had this will to survive or feel better. And like, what's the next step? Even if I don't know what it is, like stepping into the unknown. And that's a good thing though, like to, get in touch with that part of yourself that, like that will to live. Well,
I don't know if you see this in your clients, since you're coaching with them, is that in my practice, I see a lot of patients that is at the end point already. Like they tried everything and nothing seemed to work. And that's when I get to have them. And what I wish that I would have is a collaborations between different providers, and that them at an earlier state, because it takes more time, effort to assist someone who's already at that end state versus at an earlier state. So we can collaborate with different providers, working together for the true purpose of the individual to get better. Then I don't think we would have the health crisis that we would have.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that sounds very like a holistic integrated healthcare system. And I feel like we're inching there. I totally agree. It's just like anything. I mean, think about it in life. None of us are, I don't think we're we're social beings, and I think we thrive when we are deeply connected with one another. And so it would make sense to me that same principles would apply in healthcare. It's just sort of that, like a team effort. And of course, having the patient being super willing and open-minded and proactive, which is super, super important. You have to be a proactive patient, and you have to be your own best advocate. I think that would be amazing. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of, I have a really dear friend and colleague who he was diagnosed with stage 4 adult onset leukemia. Suddenly, like he was only 35. He thought he was super healthy, and all of a sudden they were telling him to put his affairs in order. And I don't know his whole story, but I do know that he was, and I don't want to certainly implicate anyone, but the parts of the story that I know are that he was offered like 2 choices in terms of treatment, and he really didn't have any information. Like he didn't know, he was so sick. He didn't know, first of all, which choice to make. So he sort of was kind of lacking community and support, and then he did make a choice on one of those, but then he still wasn't well, and then he was still told that he was still gonna most likely pass away, and then in a last ditch effort, he was in Silicon Valley. He was an executive, so he had hundreds and upon hundreds of contacts from people that he had just met through work. And so he contacted all of them and he said, hey, do any of you know of any possible treatment? Or, and this is kind of related to what you're saying. I mean, you're talking about like doctors and practitioners working together, but he really didn't have I guess he kind of felt sort of alone in his battle before that. And then just by reaching out to all of his contacts, someone introduced him to a doctor who knew about a stem cell treatment that would work with his immune system. And they found a match for him because he was an orphan. So none of his family members, where he was adopted could help him. But they found a match for him, a baby girl in Italy. They found the blood cord match, and he got a whole new immune system. Isn't that amazing? So just by it was like a group effort.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It is powerful to have a community of whether it's friends, whether it's co-workers, but even in the healthcare providers, you got to have a group of different providers on your team to help you navigate through and achieve optimal health.
Absolutely. And how do you think we should go about changing that? I mean, I kind of feel like I feel like I see, practitioners and groups and organizations. I mean, I feel like I see some places doing that, but obviously it's not across the board, right? Is it pretty rare to have that right now?
Yeah, it is rare, and it takes the consumer, just like anything, right, to be aware and to understand the power that they hold, that they do have choices, that they do have the decisions based on who they can go see, and tell their primary care who they go see. Some of them are so shy or so afraid to tell their primary care who they see outside of their primary care,
Okay. Right.
Like chiropractors are not, shared by some of the patients that they come here and they don't share with their providers because some feel that their primary care don't understand,
right,
or are not open to that. And I think, as a provider, we should be open to what our patient have to say and look at what is the best to assist.
Yeah, that kind of brings me a point where both provider and the patient seems like there's a separation wall where they can't feel comfortable to share with each other. And it almost feels like once a patient goes into a situation, it almost feels like they shut down. That's how I get. I sense a lot of people don't want other people to know that they have a health issue, and it becomes a secret.
Yeah.
And they don't want to reach out.
Oh,
and
it's so true. Go ahead.
But yeah, just like the fact that you have a problem, then you have a fear that you're being judged by others because you have a certain situation, or you just don't feel like it's a private issue, and you don't want to share it, and that kind of limits your opportunity to kind of find a solution for yourself.
Yes.
So
It
it's
does. Yeah, you have to have a certain amount of bravery, I think, and yeah, I think that's really well said. Yeah, there can be stigma around. Again, everyone wants to just be healthy, and but the reality is that most of us are going to be facing something at some point. So yeah, you do have to be very brave. I think that in general, the people I've met, and I can only imagine that's true for you, Dr. Judy, that the people that you meet that do the best, or you have to have a certain level of a certain level of bravery. And yeah, and I would definitely, I wish I had been more vocal. I mean, I think for me the solution often was to stop going to see practitioners, because I definitely saw some, but I can remember my dad had to, I'd sort of gotten to a place where I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm just gonna just see what I can do on my own. And but I was sort of stuck. And then my dad was out visiting me, and he said, well, let's just try one more person, you know? So he's the one who convinced me to go see the doctor who was a integrated doctor. And that was a turning point for me.
And
wow.
that,
So,
yeah, and
yeah.
coming back to that, Edie, is again, when providers work together for
Mm-hmm.
the purpose of helping the patients reach optimal health at an early
Mm-hmm.
state is so
Mm-hmm.
critical. Because if, like in your situation, you lost hope, right? Because you've seen this doctor,
Yeah,
that doctor, and that didn't seem to help you. So, what's the point of going to another doctor, right?
exactly. I think I had sort of reached that. And since we're all in this together, we really do need one another. And you want to have the best care possible, right? And you want the best options possible, the best treatments possible, the best ideas. It is a collaborative process, and no one can go it alone. And that's part of being an empowered patient. And also, I mentioned, like, there's proactive patient, and then there's being a conscious consumer. And I was definitely, when I thought of that, when you mentioned that, Dr. Judy, that reminded me of, I think that can drive a change in healthcare. Absolutely, it sounds like it would.
Well, that would have to be, given the situations of the healthcare crisis that is going on, right? It's uh,
Mm-hmm.
60% of American file for bankruptcy because they can't pay
Awesome.
their medical bills, right?
Wow,
And
that's
so
incredible.
uh, the only way that we can actually move um, our community forward is to have a collaborative work. Because I've seen there's specialties, as you mentioned earlier, specialties
Mm-hmm.
specializes in their category. And in my situation, I get patients who always have already went to many places, kind of like in your situation, given up.
Mm-hmm.
So one scenario would be, I had a patient who had a condition, and he asked the doctor, and the doctor said, well, given the family history, you probably have about 10, 20 years max.
Mm.
And he's like, so what's the point, right? It literally, like, give him no hope, no purpose. So what did he do?
Right. Yeah.
He went into this mode of depression and just really didn't really care much about life. And until he came in, and then I start teaching him how to tune into his body, teaching him how to be in control of his own health. And I shared with him some information that shifted his mindset and empowered him. And he became a new person. He
Mm.
lit up. He read for the first time when he didn't even pick up a book to read. He was reading like
Mm.
a book a day.
Mm.
That's how inspired he was. And he lost 20 pounds within a certain, I think, 3 months time frame. And he's exercising. He's wanting more information. Like, there is more to life now in his situation. Then I had another
That is
patient
crazy.
who had low back issues, Through the MRI, it showed multiple disc herniation, disc bulging. And going through the medical realm, they didn't think of preventative approach. They're just, more concerned of the hip. But the hip impact was because of the low back, right? Because the body has to alter its biomechanic in order to alleviate the pain. And so over time, it will wear the hip out. So by educating him and informing him how to care for his body and tune into his body, he was more inspired and more appreciative in that aspect. So this is why the collaboration is so essential.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that he was able to sort of get remotivated there. And and people work on different, some people work, some people get motivated by information. Some people get motivated by inspiration or seeing other people do well. And then they want to take care of themselves better. And I definitely also think that, keeping your hope alive is super, super important. And I'm grateful to my dad for encouraging me to go. I mean, I was still, looking for answers on my own, and I was doing pretty well. And I went through CFS twice, so I did much better the first time. But then I was in a very, very stressful marriage, and it was just tons of stress. My body crashed again, and I was just, I was definitely stuck. So I am hope is very important, and I hope that we, a collaborative society in general is is kind of important at this point. I mean, I think there's so much isolation going on, and I kind of feel like we're at a turning point. Hopefully, we're turning in the right direction here, in general.
Now, Edie, like, what was the turning point for you? It sounded like that was like, you had some relationship problems, and the turning point seems like was your dad that gave you additional hope. Was that like the lowest point during that time, or?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that was one. I was just wondering if that was like the lowest point, like how,
I think I was definitely at a very low point then. Yeah, I was really not feeling well, and I was my marriage was sort of imploding. I was in a kind of a violent marriage. It was like there was domestic violence involved, and I was not feeling well on top of it. And so my dad sort of really showing care for me and really encouraging me to seek help. Sort of beyond myself. Like I'm kind of I don't like to ask for help. So even though I had seen doctors before, I can be a little stubborn. So I would say that yes, that sort of active love was definitely a turning point. And then I think also I think there were several turning points. I think that later I moved into a new place, and that just had a better vibe to it, and that started to help me. I think community really helps. I was really isolated for a while, so when I started having more contact with other people, that helped me. I think in general, connection helped me. I think I was just in a very isolated place, and so and you can't do everything by yourself, even if you have all the willpower or drive in the world. Like, we're just also interconnected. So, that's such another really great question. I think that I think that the main turning point is just that you always have to return to a sense of finding that sense of hope in yourself. Don't ever give up on yourself, no matter how long it takes. And remember your worth, and then remember that everyone's interconnected. So ask for help. Like, don't be ashamed to ask for help. And maybe health is a taboo topic, but it shouldn't be. I mean, hopefully mental health, for instance, is becoming less taboo over time, and the same with addiction. Unfortunately, in the CFS communities, unfortunately, a lot of people will hear oh, that's maybe not a real condition. And that's really damaging, I think, for people to hear, because I think that can definitely make people shut down and lose hope. But I think connection is probably one of the biggest turning points. Like, when I started to feel more connected and let myself receive help, and then also just be open to, healing and feeling better, and whatever that might be. You have to kind of keep a very open mind, and I don't know. It's a hard question to answer because I feel like there are many turning points.
Yeah,
There's some for anyone. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna add to it. Sounds like what you're saying is like almost like I hear a lot of these words that, other people in the spiritual realm, they always say surrender yourself, and I always understand.
Yeah,
I couldn't understand, but you just kind of just like described it.
That's exactly it. I'm feeling very. This is very synchronous, because absolutely that's a perfect word for it. Yes, you do have to kind of. So first of all, when you're not feeling well, you have to sort of surrender to the present moment, and then you have to kind of surrender to your symptoms. You have to kind of surrender to what's unfolding, even if it doesn't feel very good. Like your body, you might have tons of symptoms and you might feel terrible, and you absolutely have to surrender that. You have to, and sometimes I remember there was 6 months I was so sick I was in bed, and I just sort of had to surrender to, kind of like what's so. I realized I had like an epiphany at that moment, like that what matters the most is like relationships with other people, and I just sort of had like a kind of a big picture epiphany, and I think that is about surrendering. And surrendering, ironically, makes you more powerful. It leads to answers. It leads to connection. It leads to synchronicities. I would say surrender to the present moment, and that's true for all of us, whether we have a health issue or not. I mean, the present moment is sort of like, that's where everything resides, right? Like that's sort of like where the magic resides, and that's where healing resides. And, when you can kind of slow down and surrender to the present moment, and just, sometimes I was just taking one breath at a time, because that's all I had the energy for. Was I was thinking to myself, how do I find the energy to take one more breath?
Wow.
And that makes you really kind of grateful for every moment, because every breath, like you're, and I mean, I've never had cancer or anything like that. I can't even imagine what that's like, but I think that people, again, are really, really resilient, and we just sort of have to, trust our bodies and trust one another, trust the universe. I love that you brought up the word surrender. I think that's huge in healing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it all the time, but it's kind of such a vague word, like, how do you surrender? What does it mean? If you're in a war, in a battle, sure, you can surrender. That's easy, but what's it like to surrender yourself? And you just kind of describe the whole thing. It seems like, like being in the present moment, feeling your worth. That's really important to fight for yourself. To love yourself. Not a lot of people understand or know how to love themselves. And just have the humility just to be able to just, okay, guys, I'm sick. I need help. And just reach out, okay, help me. And that's powerful.
It's a good thing.
Wow. I'm glad you kind of described your whole experience there, and just, well, at least for me, actually right now, it gave me a better understanding of what surrendering means. So thank you for that.
Thank you, and that's just a great question. And yes.
I've been trying to cut in, but everyone keeps running over me. This is John. I need to backtrack, because my thing was way back when we were talking about working with people. It's like everyone is just on steamroller right now. I'm a trained herbalist, and we were talking about alternative people not getting seen because they're not accepted by the mainstream. One of the things that we've run into is we are very, very limited on words that we can use because of the FDA.
Right.
True. A lot of the doctors are really Gestapo about it. I've had a few clients that have mentioned something that I've given them for it, and their doctors have freaked out on them. And I wanted to get back to that subject, because it is very important that we all work together, because we are looking to get to the same end, to help the person who needs to be helped. And this prejudice of one group against the other really needs to go away. And I was just wondering, what were your insights on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, first of all, yeah, we're all kind of in the same boat. And unfortunately, I think it's kind of human nature to sort of, maybe your first instinct is sort of respond out of fear or judgment, especially if something's unfamiliar. But, I think collectively, we're all hopefully seeking greater well-being for ourselves, including our interactions with one another on the planet. So we all are hopefully have the same goal, I would hope, for just a healthier, happier, kind of Earth family and planet. But yeah, there is prejudice, and there's actually can be a pretty big divide between alternative medicine and mainstream medicine. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, except for asking questions, being open-minded, maybe listening more. And I would say to patients, no, don't be afraid to speak up. I don't know. I'm someone who loves, or I try to have respect for all different types of medicine. I think it's all relevant, but also have respect for patients. I don't know. I have to say, I've been in both situations. I've been the proactive patient, and I've been the person with a practitioner who I've got notes, and I want to ask about this and this and this. And I've also been the patient who, I think I went in for some type of regular routine, and I saw a traditional doctor, like a mainstream doctor, and she said to me, "Oh, well, I heard maybe you could use like this," and she mentioned some type of alternative herb, and I didn't say anything. So I've been in that position myself where I haven't sort of been an advocate, or I haven't sort of responded back to her in a positive way. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think we all have to be more brave. We all have to slow down more. We all have to listen more, maybe be more open-minded. I wish that humans were more open-minded, maybe have more dialogue. I don't know if that would help. I do think patients need to be really proactive. Don't be afraid to, say what's on your mind, and say what you are hoping to get from the meeting, and maybe what your concerns are. And also in defense of doctors, I mean, don't they have very limited time right now? Like, I think mainstream doctors sometimes only have like 15 minutes with you. So maybe sometimes what is perceived as prejudice isn't. It could be that they're in a rush and they're just trying to do what they're trained to do and what they have the time for. So sometimes I think there can be misunderstandings too. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think more dialogue would be helpful. And I wish that everything wasn't so black and white, because there are great ideas everywhere. And if the goal is increased well-being and also solving real health issues, we have to work together, because isn't that how we progress? Isn't that how ideas become,
Yes.
treatments? And it's by working together and developing those ideas. So we want the best of everything, I would think. So I wish I knew the answer.
I just moved up to where I'm at from a place where the doctors really didn't care about the patients. They push a pill on you. And then I moved up to the Lynn Benton area, and in less than, I think on the second visit, my doctor actually found out, because I'm persistent. I've been having issues for years.
Okay.
And the one doctor found out that my whole skeletal system was locked up.
Okay.
And so he worked on that, and that helped out a lot. And I just had my doctor up here. She did a very special MRI, and found out that I've got some deformitives in my ear, which have been we think they've been what's been causing me to fall and black out and all this stuff. And the doctors down where I grew up, they wouldn't even look at anything like that. So I think that there are some doctors that are changing and are willing to look at other things. But there's some that are all about that, how many patients they can get in a day.
Yeah. That could be their motivation, or, you know, sometimes it's hard to know. It's hard to know what the motivation is. And I know it can be frustrating, and I wish we could all give each other the benefit of the doubt and sort of at the same time, maybe have more time for one another. It's such a rushed system and society in general these days. I don't know. I know what you mean. I've had some appointments where I was like, I wonder, that was an interesting experience. I don't feel like I got anything out of it, and I feel like I'm in the same place and in the same boat. But, you know, you have to be kind of grateful too for those encounters and those practitioners who just go out of their way to help you as much as they can. I mean, there are some phenomenal practitioners out there. So I know it's kind of a mixed boat, but I hope that are you finding answers? It sounds like you found some answers.
Yeah. Well, I've been having these issues since 2010, and it's just within the last year that they're actually starting to discover what's really been going on with me. Like I said, I'm very persistent because I am a healer. I do energy work, and so I know my body. And and the doctors that I was dealing with down in Eugene were basically, they didn't come out and say it, but they were thinking it was all in my head.
Oh, that's never pleasant to hear.
Yeah. And then the doctors up here in Corvallis, it's like, well, let's try this, or let's try that. Let's see if we can find something. And so they didn't give up on me, which was really awesome. I really liked that. And it's because I'm the type of person that I know what's going on with me, and I know that I'm not making it up. So I really want an answer. And it's been a journey, but I finally found. I mean, this is I think is we just have to find that right group of people that can work with us and are willing to help. We're willing to be that little terrier dog that goes after everything and doesn't stop until it gets what it wants.
Absolutely. And I've also met people, like I met someone with MS, for instance, and someone else who had another type of autoimmune condition. And what both of them said to me, and I found this to be somewhat true for myself too, is that, yes, meet with practitioners because you need their expertise. Like, they have information that you just simply don't know. Do your own research too. Of course, you know, you have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt that you find on the web, but also listen to your body, and ultimately you have to kind of piece together information and what's working for you and not working for you. And ultimately it does fall on your shoulders. You know, for most of us, you have to be your own best advocate, because no one's going to, and this is not my quote. I literally just listened to Dr. Ben Lynch. He's a naturopath, and also he studies genetics and helps people figure out, like, maybe biomarkers for certain conditions that, they can sort of look at things genetically. But he said that, no one is going to kind of care about your health as much as you do. It's true. Now there are some very compassionate people out there, and we need that compassion. We all need to be, I think, much more kind and compassionate, not only to ourselves, but to one another. But, you have to be your own best advocate, because no one else is going to, it's true for anything in life, really. Even if it's not a health issue, no one else is going to fight for you as much as you are going to fight for yourself. And so you have to kind of find that. I find you have to piece it together. Certain practitioners are going to know certain things, and you might figure some things out on your own. And some advice is great advice, and it can be life-changing, and other things you might figure out on your own, by listening to your body or by, experimenting. one thing I found that really works for a lot of people, and I don't know what your situation sounds more kind of like it's I can't think of the right word. Like it's structural, right? Like maybe it's more structural. Is that accurate? Or I mean, I don't know. I just heard a little.
Well, they're not exactly sure yet. My whole family has a lot of genetic defects. So,
okay. So, so that.
The running joke in our family is my cousin Teresa got all the physical disabilities and I got all the mental ones.
Oh.
Well,
humor is so important. It's really good to be able to laugh and even at yourself. And humor. I mean, humor is really healing. And so, I mean, genetics, like the little that I know about it, isn't it like 2% of conditions are like purely genetic, and then most conditions can be influenced by lifestyle factors. It's known as epigenetics, and if you can, epigenetic factors, again, come back to like what you eat, what you think, who you surround yourself with, who you let, things like that. And I've learned like avoiding irritants makes a big difference. But some things are, thank God for modern medicine, because when it comes to genetics, I mean, it's amazing. Isn't it amazing? Like they map the whole human genome. Isn't that incredible? So, I mean, we're getting closer to understanding like how to work with even genetic conditions, as far as I understand. That's kind of exciting to me.
Yes. Edie, would you, through your journey living with chronic conditions and being an author of exploring ways to improve your health, what are some of the ways that you find to be helpful?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I was just saying, so first of all, one of the main things I learned is that you want to, if you kind of sum it up in a nutshell, and again, this is not my idea, but it really works, is you want to bring things into your body that help your body feel better, and you want to avoid things that irritate your body. Like, and again, that might sound really simplistic, but things that are irritating your body, it kind of keeps your body in fight or flight. It can potentially affect your immune system. It kind of keeps your body sort of on edge. So whether it's certain foods or certain environments, certain thought patterns, that makes a huge difference. Like anything that's like a chronic irritant or chronic stressor, if you can allow yourself to slow down and kind of figure out what those are and be honest with yourself. And it could be even things like alcohol, caffeine. Sometimes we have to make adjustments for certain things that we don't necessarily want to give up. But reducing or avoiding irritants, I found, makes a huge difference. And it's going to be different for everyone. And then, of course, it's doing everything else you can to build up your vitality. And again, that, comes back to figure out, like, have some fun with it. Like, kind of figure out what foods does my body really like, and what situations do I thrive in, and do more of the things that make you thrive and less of the things that irritate your body. That's one of the biggest things I found. And then, of course, never give up. Like, really believe in your worth, and, practice that self-love. Like, find that self-love. And it might sound cheesy, but you really have to try to find a sense of yourself. And, Eckhart Tolle describes it as like a felt sense of being. And I think that's really true for when you're wanting to feel grounded in health and well-being, is how do I feel, what makes me feel the most present and well in this world, and really cultivating also like a healthy mindset, I think, is really important. So stay positive. It doesn't mean that you ignore things that are going on around you, but try to keep a positive frame of mind, I think, makes a big difference. Try to stay present, try to avoid irritants, practice self-care, make time for yourself. Make sure you're doing the basic things like nutrition, sleep, and exercise. And of course, if you're talking about CFS, sometimes exercise gets a little bit nebulous, but those are kind of the three foundations. And, just take care of yourself and let yourself take care of yourself.
Wonderful.
Give yourself permission to take care of yourself.
Wonderful. And how can they get a copy of your book, Explore the Ways to Improve Health?
Oh, thanks. I appreciate you asking. Well, it will be back on Amazon. I just updated it. So it's called The Memory of Health. And I did try to change the subtitle to A Journey to Well-Being, but currently I think the title still says My Journey to Mindful Living, which is huge. Being mindful is huge, and conscious consumerism. But it's on Amazon. And it's on Lulu. It's on lulu.com, which is like an independent publishing site. So it's called The Memory of Health. And yeah, thanks for asking. That's super nice of you. Yeah, it's, I wrote it for myself and everyone. Like, it's a good reminder of like things to practice and maybe suggestions. Like, not all of it is, I did a lot of research, and I thought, oh, this might help someone. I'm going to put it in.
Wonderful.
Because you never know what might help somebody.
Yes, thank you for that. And how did they reach you or contact you? You have a website?
I do have a website. It's called portlandwellnesscoach.com. So that's very specific to Portland.
Okay. And you're coaching them about their self-care? Is that?
I've worked with people that have had energy issues. Right now, I've had some individual clients. Right now, I just put together like an energy course for people that aren't super sick, because it gets kind of, again, I'm not a doctor. So, but yeah, in terms of coaching, I work with people that are pretty high functioning, that maybe have low energy, but that are like really motivated and maybe are wanting to have more energy. So I have like a group coaching course around that topic. And then I do occasionally work with people individually. I'm pretty careful about it. I really try to stick to like mindset and staying motivated, and yeah. So yeah, I occasionally work with people. Not too often one-on-one, but I'm open to it.
Okay.
If it's a good fit, I'm open to it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, I know we're coming up to the hour.
Okay.
And
thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for the insight of sharing your journey to live a healthy, optimal health. So just to recap to our viewers, if you are suffering with chronic pain, some of the things that you could do is be proactive, work with a team of providers that will help you achieve optimal health. Do ask questions. If you come across certain questions, certain information, consult with your team of providers and allow them to give you some insight, and then from there do your homework as well. Always live a positive life. You are the key holder to your health and well-being. Be optimistic, live a joyful life, find a community of friends, neighbors, people that have like-minded, that can share your concerns, that can also support you when you're going through the tough time. You may not have your family member around, but you can always have friends and neighbors that are there to care for you and love you. So that's the recap today for the chronic conditions. Our group will be back next week, and I will be in Portland next Saturday doing the Women's Conference, Empowering Women to have voices. Yes, and there's also going to be the Radio 1 will be putting up a concert as well. It's called the Summer of Love Concert. So if you're in Portland, come join us. Be exciting. And we thank you to our viewers. We love you. We thank you. We apologize for coming on so late because of a technical problem. And if you like the shows, please click like and subscribe. And do leave comments what other topics you'd like us to bring to you. Thank you, everyone. We love you. Till next time.
Thank you so much.
Make it a great day. Bye.
Bye.